Okay, welcome to the first ecosystem management area that you have to know about at A level. This is the Masai Mara region in Kenya. So, your syllabus states you need to know the management of environmental resources and the effects of human activities, to include how ecosystems can be managed to balance the conflict between conservation, preservation, and human needs. And this first example is in the Masai Mara region in Kenya. Luckily for your guided home learning, Mr. Lehman has been there. Yes, I have. So, you're in luck. And I can tell you all about it with my personal experience. So first, some education on people not so good at their geography. The Masai Mara is located in Africa, in the country of Kenya. It basically borders the Savannah Nature Reserve, borders two countries. You have the Masai Mara in Kenya, and just over the border, I don't know if you can see, but just over the border is the Serengeti in Tanzania. And these two reserves, the Serengeti and Masai Mara, make a protected ecosystem and game reserve park for both Kenya and Tanzania, and they attract thousands and thousands of tourists every year, hoping to see the big five. So this is the Masai Mara, what it looks like. It's an ecosystem area over 15,000 square kilometres of savanna grassland, and here we go, travelling through it, just to put you in the picture. So you can click on the PowerPoint and click on the video to just have a nice introduction. But basically, the Masai Mara National Reserve in southern Kenya is an example of an ecosystem that is actively managed to balance the needs of humans via the needs of conservation of the animals. The reserve was established as a wildlife sanctuary in 1961 and covers over 1,500 kilometres squared. It's also 2,000 metres above sea level. The Masai Mara is primarily a savanna ecosystem. It is divided by the Mara River, which runs through and splits the border between Tanzania and Kenya. In the south, you have the Serengeti, and in the north, above the river, is the Masai Mara. It's famous for zebra and wildebeest migrations and is home to thousands of animals: buffalo, elephants, leopards, lions, rhinos, and many other gazelles and antelope. So, surrounding the Masai Mara is the Masai people. The Masai tribes have been there for thousands of years and have grown up alongside all these animals. They have now, because of the National Reserve Park basically being kicked out, and now they have to move and live around the park. They used to be nomadic, moving from area to area, but now they are more semi-nomadic and they have fixed dwellings. Their traditional lifestyle was basically moving their herds to an area. Their herds would graze on the area, and they would then move on when obviously all the area was exhausted with vegetation, and also whether there were many tsetse flies around. These are large flies that actually bite you, and they carry the disease sleeping sickness. You do not want one of these to land on you. If you type in horse flies or tsetse flies, you'll see they have massive jaws, and these will land on you and they can give you potentially sleeping sickness. Obviously, their semi-nomadic lifestyle allowed the vegetation to recover from grazing when the farmers moved on to their next dwelling. Grazing is now limited to the edge of the reserves of the tribes are prevented from entering the park. Populations have increased in these areas. Larger herds graze with more trees are removed for fuel, as these people are semi-nomadic and live a very simple life. As vegetation is removed, this also encourages and increases soil erosion. Please watch the video on the PowerPoint. And here, as you can see, here is a basic Masai village, and they are simple farmers herding goats, donkeys, cows. An interesting fact about the Masai is when they are teenagers, the males must leave home for a year and go and live apart, separate, on their own for a whole year, and only when they come back they become a man. So, as the population of the Masai people has increased, they have had to cultivate and learn cultivation of crops. The grassland is therefore converted to areas for crops. Vegetation, the natural vegetation is removed, and the nutrients in the soil are used up by this. So therefore, they have to go and buy and rely on fertilizers. They have to get, therefore, money from tourists, in which they sell bracelets and all photos and stuff like that to the tourists, so they can get money to buy fertilizer for their crops. If we have a look at the photo, I don't know if you can see, but here we have cars going past. So these are all Jeeps, and you can see the amount of dust that is getting brought up by the cars and flinging that into the air and making a kind of dust bowl. This is all caused by, again, the Masai, their permanent residence in these places now, and their goats and donkeys basically stripping the whole area of vegetation. So this is a video that I took going to the Masai Mara National Park, going through the Masai tribe's lands. And the thing that you really need to get here is how much dust is going through this. This is due to the Masai's animals basically stripping all the area of vegetation, as well as the Masai themselves actually cutting down trees and bushes to use as firewood to light their fires. Both these practices contribute massively to soil erosion, and this is what the landscape looks like as a result. It creates these massive dust bowls, and you can see how much dust there is just going through in the car, and what the Jeeps are throwing up every single day, covering all the leaves and all the plants with dust. This in turn stops photosynthesizing the plants, and makes it difficult for plants to regrow in this area, making it soil erosion even more worse. So there's the guy in front of you in the white coat, nearly just got killed by this bull elephant, trying to get, again, the perfect picture. He got maybe about 2 meters away from it before he realized that it was coming straight towards him. So again, these encounters with humans happen all the time, and generally, people respect the wildlife, but you always get people that don't. So, tourism. So, with the huge amounts of people going there every single year, trying to get the perfect photograph and the perfect video, there is a result, and it has its consequences. Obviously, with all the tourists, they bring food, and this can lead to the taming of wildlife, which results in them becoming not afraid of humans anymore and seeing them as a food source. So litter, pollution, the exploiting of local communities and the animals, as well as a soil erosion by the tourists, can cause many problems in the area. So ecotourism has sprung up. What is ecotourism? Well, ecotourism is tourism directed towards natural environments to support conservation efforts and observe wildlife. It's a type of sustainable development which aims to reduce the impact that tourists have when they visit. It's usually seen as less invasive than agriculture, but the key principles are: ensure tourism does not exploit the environment or communities. So the Masai Mara don't make their bracelets just to sell to tourists. They all share, and it's a non-profit organisation. Consult and engage with local communities on planned developments. So again, where the Masai live, they don't pop up hotels and pools and restaurants for the tourists. It's all planned together. Ensure that infrastructure improvements benefit local people as well as visitors. So again, that not all the money that tourists bring goes into the hotel owner's pocket. Some goes into the local community as well. However, repeated use of hiking trails and transport can cause soil erosion, and you'll see this in the slide next. Please click on the link in the PowerPoint to see more on the YouTube video. So here you can see a wildlife sanctuary with elephants, again eco-friendly, as they employed local people to guide people around, therefore benefiting the whole community of the area. Other things that they also recommended was they urged to purchase goods only at designated markets. Ecotourism basically helps conserve natural resources and endangered species, in part by providing incentives for local community to become involved in this process. It creates a sustainable tourism market, which in turn promotes a sense of self-reliance for locals. Ecotourism in Kenya also helps minimise human-animal conflicts over territory and natural resources, which are detrimental to the conservation efforts. It's not all tourism. There are conservation and research projects being undertaken in the Masai Mara. These include conservation of black rhino, as they are on the IUCN Red List of critically endangered due to poaching of their horns. In 1972, there were over 100 black rhino in the area, but now only a handful remain. I think there was about 10 when I went there. Rangers were employed and provide with communication equipment vehicles. Poachers have been deterred, and numbers are beginning to improve. So I think they have 10 now. If you want more, look and click on the video on the PowerPoint, the link. Other things are various research projects are being undertaken. The cheetah project, the cheetah again is critically endangered now due to farming, putting up fences so it can't hunt its prey. So they're monitoring the impact of human activity on cheetah behaviour and survival. So again, I hope you've learned that it's all about striking a balance. It's between the conservation and preservation of the Masai Mara and balancing tourism, the Masai culture and tribe with the wildlife. Increasing wildlife density threatens farming, and some human land uses threaten wildlife survival. A constant balance is required. Examples include elephants that threaten cultivation, trampling crops and homesteads. They venture outside the reserve and see crops as easy food. The Masai can fence their land, but then this affects the natural migration of many animals. Other things, legal hunting removes excess animals, and usually the Masai hunt any animal that strays out of the reserve. This brings in money for conservation. Numbers have to be carefully monitored though, so that a balance is maintained. Other things such as the Masai's livestock, their donkeys, their cows, can be outcompeted by wildebeest for grass, and they may pass on diseases to domestic animals. This can happen the other way as well, where the domestic animals eat the vegetation and stop the wild animals having it. Again, just to remind you, this is inter-specific competition, and also they can pass on domestic diseases to the wild animals, such as blue tongue and foot and mouth disease. Other things that strike a balance are, as humans' population there increases more, there'll be more cattle, there'll be more homes, there'll be more agriculture that is needed to support them. Wildlife density is likely to decline significantly as density of the built environment increases, and this is a massive problem with the Masai Mara and the Masai tribe people. The animals now, they only will not get hunted if they are in the reserve. Generally, they have all but disappeared outside of the reserve. Just to make sure, every year someone always asks, what is a wildebeest? Well, a wildebeest is the animals that you can see right now. It's a large African antelope, closely related to cattle, goats and sheep, and it in Afrikaans means wild beast. Hence, wilde beest. So now that's it. If you go to page 308 and try to answer questions 1 to 4, that would be great, and that would really consolidate your learning. Thank you. Bye. See you next time.